The stars had always whispered secrets, but nobody listened quite like Elena Rodriguez. Her office, if you could call it that, was a cluttered sanctuary of organized chaos tucked away in the least remarkable building of the United Earth Space Consortium. Blueprints cascaded from walls covered in quantum mechanics diagrams. Holographic projections flickered between complex mathematical models, and half-empty coffee mugs stood as silent witnesses to countless sleepless nights. Outside, the world continued its mundane rhythm. Politicians argued about budget allocations, bureaucrats stamped endless forms, and most of humanity remained blissfully unaware that something extraordinary was brewing right under their collective noses. Elena's fingers danced across holographic interfaces, connecting dots that no one else could see. Her team, a motley crew of brilliant misfits, represented humanity's last, best hope. They were the outcasts, the dreamers, the ones who refused to accept the universe's predetermined limitations. "We're going to do something impossible," she muttered, tracing a complex quantum entanglement pattern that would make most theoretical physicists laugh or cry. The Galactic Concordance's latest report lay crumpled in a nearby trash bin. Technological potential. Negligible, it proclaimed in bold, dismissive letters. Elena had read enough alien assessment reports to know exactly how other civilizations viewed humanity. A young, chaotic species barely worth a footnote in the grand galactic narrative. But Elena knew better. Her latest project, codenamed Supernova, was more than just a spacecraft design. It was a radical reimagining of what technology could be. Where conventional engineering saw boundaries, she saw possibilities. Where others saw limitations, she saw opportunities waiting to be seized. Across the room, Marcus Chen, her chief engineering partner, was wrestling with a quantum processor that seemed more alive than mechanical. His military background combined with a physicist's mind created a unique approach to problem-solving that defied traditional scientific methodologies. "Another impossible challenge?" he asked, not looking up from his work. Elena grinned. "Is there any other kind?" Their workspace told a story of relentless innovation. Salvage technology from a dozen different research projects, mixed with cutting-edge quantum computing systems. 3D printed prototype components sat beside advanced holographic simulation units. It looked like a mad scientist's playground, but every single piece represented a breakthrough waiting to happen. The global scientific community had written them off. Major funding agencies had rejected their proposals multiple times. Traditional aerospace corporations had laughed them out of boardrooms, but Elena and her team understood something fundamental. True innovation never comes from following established rules. Outside the window, Cape Canaveral stretched toward the horizon, a landscape of potential and forgotten dreams. Abandoned launch sites stood as monuments to humanity's previous attempts to reach beyond its grasp. But this time would be different. "Systems check," Marcus called out, his voice cutting through the ambient hum of technology. Quantum entanglement matrices flickered to life. Computational systems that should have been theoretically impossible began responding in ways that defied current understanding. Each component seemed to breathe with its own intelligence, connecting and reconnecting in complex, organic patterns. Elena watched the preliminary data stream, her heart racing. They were close, so incredibly close to something that would change everything. "The galaxy doesn't know what's coming," she whispered. Little did the Galactic Concordance realize that in this unremarkable building, with its mismatched team of brilliant misfits, humanity was about to rewrite the rules of technological evolution. The Supernova fleet wasn't just a project. It was a revolution waiting to be unleashed. And no one, absolutely no one, saw it coming. The abandoned shipyard hummed with an energy that defied its decrepit appearance. Rusted shipping containers formed makeshift walls, repurposed computer banks lined improvised workstations, and holographic displays flickered between complex mathematical models and half-finished design schematics. Marcus Chen stood at the center of this controlled chaos, his fingers tracing holographic blueprints that seemed to dance with impossible potential. A former Marine turned quantum physicist, he embodied the perfect fusion of disciplined thinking and wild innovation. "We're going to make the impossible look easy," he muttered, adjusting a quantum coupling that would have made most theoretical physicists laugh or cry. Around him, the team worked with a synchronicity that bordered on telepathic. Dr. Aisha Kapoor, a materials engineer with 3 separate doctoral degrees, was busy creating quantum reactive alloys that could adapt to extreme environmental conditions. Her workstation looked like a mad scientist's dream, with molecular models spinning in midair and experimental samples that seemed to shimmer between solid and liquid states. Another breakthrough. Elena Rodriguez approached, a steaming mug of coffee in hand. Aisha's eyes sparkled with excitement. "Our latest alloy can redistribute molecular stress in real time. Imagine a spacecraft skin that literally heals itself mid-flight." The team was anything but conventional. Each member had been rejected by traditional scientific institutions. Too radical, too unconventional, too willing to challenge established paradigms. Here, in this makeshift laboratory, they were rewriting the rules of engineering. Jake Rodriguez, no relation to Elena, was busy programming the ship's quantum neural network. A former game designer turned AI specialist, he approached computational problems like elaborate puzzle boxes waiting to be cracked. Lines of code danced across his multiple screens, creating algorithms that seemed to breathe with their own intelligence. "The ship won't just respond to commands," Jake explained, not looking up from his work. "It'll anticipate needs before they even become apparent." Marcus walked over to a massive holographic display, showing the Supernova fleet's core design. What looked like a spacecraft to an untrained eye was actually a living, adaptive system. Each component could reconfigure itself, share computational loads, and communicate across impossible distances. "Traditional spacecraft are like single-celled organisms," Marcus explained to a visiting engineering intern. "What we're building is more like a complex, multicellular organism. Each part communicates, adapts, evolves." The intern looked both terrified and fascinated. Outside, the world continued its mundane rhythm. Bureaucrats stamped forms, politicians argued about budget allocations, and most of humanity remained blissfully unaware that a small team was about to change everything they understood about space exploration. Elena watched her team with a mixture of pride and anticipation. They weren't just building a spacecraft. They were creating a technological ecosystem that would challenge every existing understanding of interstellar engineering. A complex quantum processor suddenly lit up, its components shifting and realigning in patterns that defied traditional computational logic. Jake let out a whoop of excitement. "It's learning," he shouted. "The system is actually learning and adapting in real time." The processor continued its mesmerizing dance, a physical manifestation of humanity's potential to push beyond known technological boundaries. Aisha's latest alloy sample began to pulse with an inner light, molecular structures rearranging themselves in response to subtle environmental changes. Marcus checked a nearby sensor array, his eyes widening. "We're not just building a fleet," he said quietly, almost to himself. "We're giving birth to a new form of technological intelligence." The abandoned shipyard continued to hum with possibility. Outside, the sun began to set, casting long shadows across a landscape that had no idea how completely its understanding of technology was about to be transformed. The Supernova fleet was coming, and nothing would ever be the same again. The solar observatory looked like any other research station, a collection of massive telescopes and monitoring equipment perched atop a remote mountain. But on this particular morning, the scientists knew something extraordinary was about to happen. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood before a wall of monitors, her fingers hovering just above a holographic control panel. The first full-scale prototype of the Supernova fleet's test vessel waited in orbital position, a sleek marvel of engineering that looked more like a living organism than a traditional spacecraft. "Incoming solar flare," a technician called out. His voice carried a mixture of excitement and apprehension. Most spacecraft had elaborate shielding systems designed to protect against solar radiation. The Supernova prototype was different. Where others sought to block or resist, this ship was about to do something unprecedented. The solar flare erupted with devastating intensity. Waves of radiation powerful enough to fry conventional electronics blazed across the monitoring screens. In any other scenario, this would have been a catastrophic event. But not today. As the radiation approached, the Supernova prototype began to change. Its molecular structure seemed to dance, quantum reactive alloys shifting and realigning in real time. Where traditional spacecraft would have gone dark, this ship began to absorb the incoming energy. Quantum entanglement stabilizing. Jake Rodriguez's voice crackled through the communication systems. Energy conversion at 68% efficiency and rising. The monitoring team watched in stunned silence. The solar flare that should have destroyed the spacecraft was being transformed. Not just deflected, not just absorbed, but actively converted into propulsive energy. Marcus Chen allowed himself the briefest of smiles. "Oops," he muttered into the communication channel. Was that supposed to be dangerous? Back in the control room, the monitoring computers struggled to process what was happening. The Supernova prototype wasn't just surviving the solar flare, it was thriving. Computational systems that should have been overwhelmed were instead growing more complex, more adaptive with each passing moment. Alien monitoring stations, those that were watching, began to recalibrate their sensors. Something impossible was happening, and they needed to understand exactly what. "Energy conversion complete," Jake announced. "We've gained an additional 40% thrust capacity from the solar radiation." The implications were staggering. A solar event that would have destroyed conventional spacecraft had just become a source of additional power and propulsion. It was more than a technological breakthrough. It was a fundamental reimagining of how technology could interact with environmental challenges. Dr. Aisha Kapoor was already analyzing the data, her fingers flying across holographic interfaces. "The quantum reactive alloys are performing beyond our most optimistic projections," she called out. "We're seeing molecular restructuring that defies current understanding of material science." The prototype continued its dance with the solar radiation, a living testament to human innovation. Each moment revealed another layer of complexity, another demonstration of the team's revolutionary approach to spacecraft design. "Thermal regulation is off the charts," another technician reported. "The ship is not just protecting itself, it's actively transforming incoming energy into usable resources." As the solar flare began to dissipate, the Supernova prototype emerged unchanged. More than unchanged, enhanced. Where other spacecraft would have required extensive repairs or complete replacement, this ship had turned a potentially catastrophic event into a performance upgrade. Elena Rodriguez looked at the monitoring screens, her eyes reflecting the complex dance of data and possibility. They had done more than build a spacecraft. They had created a living, adaptive technological ecosystem that could turn challenges into opportunities. "Prepare the next phase of testing," she said quietly. The solar observatory fell silent, the monitors still glowing with the impossible data of what had just occurred. The galaxy wasn't ready for what humanity was about to unleash. And no one, absolutely no one, saw it coming. The Grand Concordance Assembly Hall was a marvel of alien architecture, a sweeping amphitheater that typically intimidated most species invited to present their technological achievements. Holographic displays stretched across impossible dimensions, with representatives from over 50 galactic civilizations watching with a mixture of boredom and professional courtesy. Dr. Elena Rodriguez didn't look intimidated, not even a little. Her presentation began differently from any technological showcase in galactic history. Instead of dry technical specifications, she started with a story. A human story about innovation, about pushing beyond limitations, about seeing potential where others saw only obstacles. "Imagine a technology that doesn't just survive challenges," she began, her voice carrying clearly through translation systems, "but transforms those challenges into opportunities." The holographic display behind her came alive. It wasn't a static presentation. It was a living, breathing demonstration of the Supernova fleet's capabilities. Each component seemed to move with an intelligence of its own, modules shifting and reconnecting in patterns that defied conventional engineering logic. Zarak, the senior Concordance technological assessor, leaned forward. Something was different about this presentation. Alina walked across the stage, her movements precise and deliberate. Traditional spacecraft are like rigid machines, she explained. Our Supernova fleet is more like a living organism. It doesn't just operate. It adapts, it learns, it evolves. The holographic demonstration showed a spacecraft encountering multiple extreme scenarios. A massive solar flare, a meteor storm, extreme gravitational fluctuations, where other vessels would have been destroyed. The Supernova prototype not only survived, but seemed to grow stronger with each challenge. Marcus Chen stood at the side of the stage, monitoring the technical feat. His military precision, combined with a physicist's curiosity, created a unique presence that caught the attention of even the most disinterested alien delegates. Quantum entanglement isn't just a theory for us, Alina continued. It's a design philosophy. Each ship in our fleet doesn't just communicate, it thinks collectively. One vessel's experience becomes knowledge for the entire fleet. The alien representatives began to shift in their seats. This wasn't the typical technological presentation they were accustomed to. A holographic simulation showed the fleet's modular design. Ships could literally reconfigure themselves mid-flight, sharing computational loads, redistributing energy, adapting to challenges in real time. It was less like a military demonstration and more like watching a living, breathing ecosystem. We're not just building spacecraft, Alina said, her voice rising with passion. We're creating a new form of technological intelligence. The Concordance Hall fell silent. Zarak's translation device struggled to capture the nuance of the presentation. This wasn't just a technological breakthrough. It was a fundamental reimagining of what technology could be. Jake Rodriguez activated the final demonstration. The holographic display showed multiple Supernova prototype vessels working together, their quantum networks so deeply interconnected that they moved like a single collective intelligence. They weren't just ships. They were a living, adaptive system. Our greatest strength, Alina concluded, is our ability to see potential where others see limitations. As the presentation ended, something unprecedented happened. The entire hall, representatives from dozens of advanced civilizations, began to applaud. Not out of diplomatic courtesy, but out of genuine awe. Marcus leaned close to Alina. Well, he whispered, I think we just changed everything. The galaxy would never be the same again, and humanity was just getting started. The diplomatic channels of the Galactic Concordance rarely moved quickly, but when they did, the entire universe seemed to hold its breath. Emergency sessions were convened in secret chambers spread across multiple star systems. Holographic representations of political leaders from dozens of advanced civilizations flickered in and out of existence, their discussions heated and complex. Humanity represents an unprecedented technological anomaly, declared Ambassador Krolax of the Zalarian Diplomatic Corps. His translucent form wavered slightly, betraying the tension beneath his typically stoic exterior. Their Supernova fleet technology challenges every existing paradigm of spacefaring capabilities. Some representatives saw opportunity, others saw existential threat. The Voraxian delegation was the most vocal. Known for their highly militaristic culture, they viewed humanity's technological breakthrough with a mixture of fear and barely contained aggression. Their representative, a towering crystalline being named Zornak, projected a holographic representation of the Supernova fleet's capabilities. They have created a technological ecosystem that can adapt faster than our most advanced predictive algorithms, Zornak proclaimed. This is not just a fleet. This is a potential galactic destabilizer. Behind closed diplomatic channels, conversations grew increasingly tense. Preliminary discussions about potential blockades, technological embargoes, and even more extreme measures began to circulate. Captain Marcus Chen sat in a secure communication hub, monitoring the diplomatic undercurrents. Elena Rodriguez stood beside him, her fingers dancing across holographic interfaces that tracked multiple communication networks simultaneously. "They're scared," Marcus observed quietly. "When civilizations get scared, they get dangerous." Elena nodded. The team had anticipated this response. Humanity's technological leap was too significant to be ignored, too revolutionary to be easily integrated into existing galactic power structures. Jake Rodriguez, monitoring communication networks, intercepted fragments of diplomatic communications. "They're discussing potential quarantine protocols," he reported. "Some factions want to categorize our technology as a potential existential threat." The irony was not lost on the team. Humanity, a species previously categorized as technologically negligible, was now seen as a potential galactic destabilizer. In the Concordance's most secure communication chambers, Ambassador Krulax presented a complex holographic analysis. The Supernova fleet's capabilities were unlike anything previously encountered. Its quantum entanglement systems, adaptive modular design, and collective intelligence represented a fundamental shift in technological understanding. "We are facing a species," Krulax explained, "that does not see technology as a tool, but as a living, evolving ecosystem." The diplomatic tension continued to build. Some alien civilizations proposed immediate containment strategies. Others argued for careful study and potential collaboration. The Galactic Concordance found itself at a crossroads. Dr. Aisha Kapoor, monitoring the situation, understood the deeper implications. "This isn't just about a technological breakthrough," she told her team. "This is about a fundamental difference in how we perceive technological evolution." Marcus Chen prepared a contingency response. If diplomatic channels turned hostile, the Supernova fleet would need to demonstrate both its capabilities and its peaceful intentions. "We come in peace," he practiced in the communication hub. "But we will not be underestimated." The galaxy held its collective breath. Humanity had done more than create an advanced spacecraft. They had challenged every existing understanding of technological potential. And no one, absolutely no one, knew exactly what would happen next. The test facility looked like nothing more than a massive orbital platform, floating silently against the backdrop of endless stars. But inside, something extraordinary was about to happen. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood before a holographic control panel that seemed to breathe with its own intelligence. Around her, the Supernova fleet's core team watched with a mixture of anticipation and scientific precision. "Full system synchronization test," she announced, initiating quantum network alignment. The first ship began to pulse with an inner light. Not a mechanical glow, but something more organic, more alive. Quantum entanglement matrices began to connect, creating neural pathways that defied traditional computational understanding. Marcus Chen monitored the primary systems, his fingers moving with military precision across complex interface controls. "Quantum resonance building," he reported. "Network stability at 78% and climbing." Jake Rodriguez worked on the collective intelligence algorithms. What looked like a simple computer system was actually a revolutionary approach to technological communication. Each ship wasn't just a vessel. It was a living, thinking entity that could share experiences, adapt, and grow. "They're talking to each other," Jake whispered, more to himself than to anyone else. The ships began to move. But this wasn't traditional formation flying. This was something entirely different. They shifted and realigned with a fluidity that defied mechanical logic. Energy flows redistributed instantaneously. Computational loads balanced themselves with impossible speed. Dr. Aisha Kapoor watched the molecular structures of the ship's adaptive alloys. "Look at how they're communicating," she said, her voice filled with scientific wonder. "It's not just data transfer, it's a complete shared consciousness." Each vessel in the Supernova fleet was more than a machine. They were nodes in a living, breathing technological ecosystem. When one ship encountered a potential challenge, the entire fleet could respond before a traditional computer could even process the initial threat. The quantum network expanded. Computational pathways formed and dissolved in milliseconds. Information flowed like blood through a complex organism, with each ship acting as both an individual component and part of a larger collective intelligence. Total system synchronization at 92%, Marcus called out. We're seeing computational adaptation that exceeds all previous theoretical models. A nearby monitoring station struggled to track the fleet's movements. Traditional tracking systems saw only chaos, but to those who understood, it was a perfect, complex symphony of technological innovation. Elena Rodriguez watched the holographic displays, seeing beyond the raw data. This wasn't just a technological breakthrough. This was a new form of intelligence being born. The ships began to run complex simulation scenarios, a massive solar storm, unexpected gravitational anomalies, potential communication interference, where traditional spacecraft would have been overwhelmed. The Supernova fleet adapted, redistributed, and overcame with impossible grace. We're not just building ships, Jake said quietly. We're creating a new form of collective consciousness. The quantum network continued to expand. Each ship learned from the others, shared experiences, adapted in real time. They were no longer individual vessels, but a single, complex organism capable of thinking and responding faster than any known technological system. Marcus checked the final synchronization metrics. 100% quantum entanglement, he announced. Total system integration complete. The stars outside seemed to pause, as if witnessing something extraordinary. Humanity had done more than create a fleet of spacecraft. They had given birth to a new form of technological intelligence, a living, breathing ecosystem that would change everything. And this was just the beginning. The Galactic Concordance High Council chamber fell silent as Dr. Elena Rodriguez prepared to deliver the most important presentation in human history. Holographic representations of alien civilizations flickered around her, a constellation of potential futures waiting to be explored. "We're not here to conquer," she began, her voice calm and resolute. "We're here to collaborate." Behind her, a holographic representation of the Supernova fleet's capabilities unfolded like a living, breathing ecosystem. Each ship demonstrated not just technological prowess, but a fundamental reimagining of collective intelligence. Marcus Chen stood at the periphery, monitoring communication channels. Years of military training had taught him that the most significant battles were often won through understanding, not confrontation. The Xylarian representative, Ambassador Krulax, leaned forward. The initial fear that had gripped the Galactic Concordance was slowly transforming into something else. Curiosity, possibility, wonder. "What you're proposing," Krulax interrupted, "is more than a technological exchange. It's a complete paradigm shift in how we understand intelligence." Elena nodded. "Exactly." Jake Rodriguez began demonstrating the fleet's collaborative learning protocols. Where traditional technological systems worked in isolation, the Supernova fleet shared experiences instantaneously. A challenge encountered by one ship became a learning opportunity for the entire fleet. Dr. Aisha Kapoor stepped forward, presenting the quantum reactive alloy research. "Our materials don't just protect," she explained. "They adapt. They learn. They evolve." The alien representatives watched as holographic displays showed ships reconfiguring themselves in real time, molecular structures shifting to meet environmental challenges with impossible grace. "We're offering more than technology," Elena continued. "We're offering a new way of thinking." Training programs began to take shape. Human engineers would work alongside alien technological teams, sharing the fundamental principles behind the Supernova fleet's revolutionary design. It wasn't about giving away secrets. It was about changing how entire civilizations understood technological potential. The Varaxian representative, previously the most aggressive opponent of human technological advancement, now looked intrigued. "Your collective intelligence systems," they asked, "how do they maintain individual ship autonomy?" Marcus stepped forward, explaining the delicate balance between collective learning and individual ship decision-making. It was a dance of quantum entanglement, of shared experiences that didn't compromise individual agency. Diplomatic channels that had been tense with potential conflict now hummed with collaborative energy. The Supernova fleet was becoming more than a technological achievement. It was a bridge between civilizations. "We're not just sharing technology," Alina said, her voice carrying a quiet conviction. "We're sharing a philosophy of innovation." Jake demonstrated how other species could begin to implement similar collaborative learning protocols. It wasn't about replicating human technology, but about understanding the fundamental principle: technology as a living, adaptive ecosystem. The holographic displays continued to shift and change, showing potential collaborative scenarios. Rescue missions, scientific explorations, technological problem-solving that transcended individual species limitations. Ambassador Krillax made a decision that would change galactic history. "We want to be part of this," they announced, "not as observers, as collaborators." The Concordance High Council began drafting new protocols, technological exchange programs, collaborative research initiatives, a fundamental reimagining of interspecies technological development. Humanity had done more than create an advanced fleet. They had offered the galaxy a new way of thinking about intelligence, collaboration, and potential. As the presentation concluded, the stars outside seemed to shine a little brighter. Something extraordinary was happening. And this was just the beginning. The first deep space mission of the collaborative Supernova fleet looked nothing like anyone had expected. It wasn't a military expedition. It wasn't a show of technological might. It was a journey of pure exploration, of shared discovery. Commander Elena Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the lead vessel, surrounded by a crew that represented 6 different galactic civilizations. Humans worked alongside Solarian quantum engineers, Voraxian systems analysts, and species whose names were nearly impossible to pronounce. "Quantum network stabilizing," reported Jake Rodriguez from the computational core. The communication systems hummed with a living intelligence that defied traditional technological understanding. Marcus Chen monitored the collective fleet movements. Each ship was more than a vessel. It was a node in a living, breathing technological ecosystem. When one ship encountered a challenge, the entire fleet could respond before a traditional computer could even process the initial threat. The mission parameters were deceptively simple: explore, learn, discover. Dr. Aisha Kapoor worked on the scientific analysis team, her quantum reactive sensors probing the depths of unexplored star systems. The ship's adaptive technologies meant they could investigate environments that would have destroyed conventional spacecraft in moments. Incoming spatial anomaly, a Zalarian navigation specialist called out. Where previous expeditions would have retreated, the Supernova fleet leaned forward. Literally, the ships reconfigured themselves, molecular structures shifting to absorb and analyze the unexpected phenomenon. The collaborative team watched in awe as the fleet transformed. Energy redistributed, computational loads balanced, protective systems adapted in milliseconds. "It's learning," whispered a junior researcher from a species humans had never even heard of before this mission. The spatial anomaly, a complex quantum disturbance that would have destroyed conventional spacecraft, became a source of scientific discovery. The Supernova fleet didn't just survive. It studied, it understood, it grew. Communication channels between ships became more than simple data transfer. They were a living conversation, a collective intelligence that transcended individual technological limitations. Alina watched the holographic displays, seeing beyond the raw data. This was more than a space mission. This was a demonstration of what was possible when different civilizations truly collaborated. "We're not just exploring space," Marcus observed quietly. "We're exploring potential." The fleet continued its journey. Each moment revealed another layer of complexity, another demonstration of the revolutionary approach to technological development. Unexpected challenges became opportunities. Communication barriers dissolved. Species that had viewed each other with suspicion now worked together, with a synchronicity that would have been impossible just months earlier. A distant signal caught the fleet's attention. Something unexpected, something unknown. Where previous expeditions would have approached with caution or aggression, the Supernova fleet responded with pure scientific curiosity. The collective intelligence adapted, prepared, investigated. Quantum network at full synchronization, Jake reported. We're ready for anything. The stars outside seemed to pause, as if witnessing something extraordinary. Humanity had done more than create a technological marvel. They had offered the galaxy a new way of thinking about exploration, about intelligence, about potential. As the first collaborative supernova fleet pushed beyond known space, something fundamental had changed. It wasn't about which species was most advanced. It was about what could be achieved when different perspectives worked together. Commander Rodriguez looked out at the endless possibilities before them. This was just the beginning.